Hi, folks. Welcome back. And those of you that are new, welcome. Here it is, the anniversary of 9/11. And I remember clearly some of the younger people have no memory of it, just videos and photos. And, of course, we want to pay tribute, so to speak, to all the innocent victims, thousands, and the tens of thousands of lives that were changed after this. When Osama bin Laden and some of the radicals, Islam, decided to go after the United States, to put a knife in their heart, to show the so-called blah, 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 blah. You know the routine. But what I like to talk about is not, we'll have a moment of silence now for the victims, and I say victims purposely, of 9/11, as well as, I'm not going to show it, but the plane that wouldn't do what the hijackers wanted. I believe they're going to go into the White House. I don't remember, but they ended up crashing in a Pennsylvania field. And all their lives that they gave heroically to try to stop the terrorist hijackers. So let's have a moment of silence for the victims of 9/11. And then after that, I'm going to go into detail, I think, what the aftermath was of 9/11. So let's have a moment of silence for the victims involved. Rest in peace. May God be with you. Now, I think the aftermath, it's not as important as human lives, of course, but people don't stop and think how the government overreacted as far as rights and privileges of the citizenry of the United States. And I'm going to go into detail about that right now. In the aftermath, I think, that changed America, hopefully not forever, is the Patriot Act. Now, I'm going to say up front that many people had good intentions when this was put in. Very good intentions. But as usual, when you're dealing with human beings, bad actors, so to speak, push this hard. And I want you to think about this for a minute. Try to get a hotel or motel room. Got to show ID for this. Got to show ID for that. Now we have surveillance cameras everywhere. And I was a council member, council president upstate New York for 8 years. Some federal and state grants came in to put cameras in high crime areas in the downtown area. And I didn't like it at all. Of course, it was all because of safety. It's looking out for your safety. Now, this reminds me very much of Soviet Russia back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. This is for your benefit. This is for your safety. Secret FISA courts. Think about that for a minute. In the United States, secret FISA courts, secret indictments. Nobody knows who the judges were. Nobody knows who gave the information to the FISA judges because it's all secret. And not because I'm a Trump fan that I say this. Look what FISA did concerning President Trump. That's just one example out of thousands. I'm using that because that's the most glaring example. They lied to a FISA court. Where is the repercussions under the Patriot Act? Why aren't they indicted, and why would they stand trial, and the evidence is overwhelming, and go to jail? They're using their power to control movements and thoughts of the American people and using the death of those poor victims as reason to do it. It's just incredible to me. Wiretapping. Now they go to social media companies without a warrant and demand to look at some of their direct messages, some of their private messages on those websites. And they're getting it. And more and more and more of our freedoms have been taken away. Why the Supreme Court hasn't ruled in over 20 years is a mystery to me. But I just want to say to you younger people out there that don't remember the United States before all the surveillance state came about. It gave them more power. Undercover, it gave them more power and more authority to spy on its own people. And I don't mean for terrorist acts, even though that was his original intent. I mourn very badly. I remember when it happened. I was in the third year of my convenience store that I opened up in a really, really small building, kind of a crappy street. And I ended up moving to a bigger location, and it was there until March of 21 when I eventually sold the building and business. And the surveillance is just incredible to me. We just had a recent grant to the local city council here in Binghamton, New York, about getting surveillance cameras. And of course, it's a progressive council. All 7 are progressive Democrats or worse. And they went along with the surveillance cameras. The only complaint many of them had, because they're progressives, is they didn't want the cameras in high minority areas where a lot of the crime is. They said that was racist. But yet they have no problem with getting false evidence, lying to judges that are no name, nobody knows who they are. This sounds like secret Soviet stuff. And lying about a sitting president. It's just incredible to me. And nobody's held accountable. You can't walk down the street without cameras being on you. This is ridiculous to the level that it was a tragedy. It was a tragedy, and it's just horrible what happened to those people on the plane in Pennsylvania and in the 2 towers. And some of the people they were killed when the plane hit the Pentagon. Just a tragedy. Ruined tens of thousands of lives. Caused health issues for tens of thousands more that still go on to this day. That's a pretty high price. But yet, I think in the long run, a higher price is the loss of our freedom of movement, our freedom of congregating together, our freedom to peaceful protest, our freedom of all of that all their cell phones will be tapped into, as they say, all our social media posts, everything. It's the surveillance state. And like I said, many, many, many good people were involved in the Patriot Act thinking it would do some good to stop terrorism. And I think it has to a certain extent. But is it worth the price of 300 plus million people losing their rights? The founding fathers were around today and saw the Patriot Act. They would be physically ill. Nobody will have the guts as a politician, especially a president or a senator, to get rid of this surveillance state, because they'll be pummeled by the other side. It's just amazing to me. So I want to wish everyone whose family members were killed in the 9/11 attack, I wish them all the peace that God will give, and this will never happen again. I hope. But the thing is, though, we have to take a good hard look. Most Americans, government, when something happens as tragic as this, Americans always overreact. Always, without exception. And this is one of those circumstances. Does it make it easier to catch terrorists? Yes. But is that the price of people's freedom under the Constitution worth it? No. Bad things happen in the world. Sometimes for no reason, sometimes for a reason. We just have to do the best we can, as we have been for the last couple 100+ years. Our rights are eroding little by little. And the sad part is younger people today see this as normal. They see this as norm, and like almost all people, they're very adaptable. They just go along with it because they know nothing else. They know nothing else. Does it seem trivial matter that you have to show ID to go into a hotel or motel? Yeah, technically by itself it is, but the overall theme is we want to know who you are, where you are, and what you're doing. And that is not That is not freedom. So I hope and I pray, like I said, that every family member that was affected by 9/11, I wish them well, and I hope in part that their heart is healed from the tragedy that happened. But I want American people to think about this. Take a good, hard look at the Patriot Act. Our rights are being taken, and the new generation thinks that's normal. It's not. I want to wish everybody God's blessing on this horrible anniversary, and think about the fact that little by little, like the frog in the water, we're losing our rights little by little. And then at the end, as we realize when it's too late, that our rights are taken away. Give it some thought. Say a prayer for the families and the people that died in 9/11. Until next time, God bless, goodbye, and good luck.